There's a lot of experiential knowledge for the program, but it can always be improved by industry reaching out to us. We're going to continue to reach out to industry.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Short Fuse, talking about different topics in the military moving space. And today we are really excited because we have Major Matthew Visser of the newly formed personal property activity, who's been a great partner since PPA has stepped in and taken over DP3 program. So, Major Visser, thank you for hopping on here with me and love to learn a little bit about your background and your history.
Thanks, Katie, and I appreciate Movers for America having us out. You've done such a great job with your newsletters and putting out the information that the personal property activity has been attempting to communicate with all of our various stakeholders. It's a robust global program, as your listeners all know, and there's a lot of different facets and complications and things that require streamlining and synchronization. And the personal property activity, since standing up, has been rigorously getting after that mandate. So I joined the personal property activity when it was still the Permanent Change of Station Joint Task Force in this past fall in 2025. And they were on a very accelerated path to becoming a special activity.
Yes.
And we were really excited about that. We have been working with industry partners, conducting multiple engagements with them, talking with the family members across the Department of War and getting their feedback on ways that we could improve business rules and our practices for the Defense Personal Property Program. And so it's been great to be a part of a lot of the momentum on this particular team led by Major General Lance Curtis. And I'm excited to be here. I'm the spokesman for the personal property activity proudly. And we've been doing lots of great things. Hopefully your listeners have seen that within the news, within the digital media space, and they're tied in with our communication platforms on social and on LinkedIn. In addition to that, previously I was a logistician. So
Okay.
I, at a very smaller scale, had an appreciation for transportation, for materiel, and some of the different ways that we're equipping our warfighters on a very tactical level. So coming into the PPA introduced a lot of additional challenges, and having that background, I think, was a little bit, it gave me somewhat of an advantage because I could see some of what makes the cogs in the system run.
I've personally been amazed at how much you all have been able to accomplish in such a short amount of time. I mean, you have really hit the ground running, and especially on, I feel like the communication side, I guess kind of what you have really been spearheading and working on. But just to kind of touch on, you said you were here from right the very beginning, like the get-go on the ground floor. So what has that actually been like? You're helping build this new organization from scratch, basically. And I'm kind of curious, what are some of the biggest things that have surprised you along the way?
Well, stepping into the role, we were disaggregated as a command. And that's one of the reasons there were a lot of challenges for family members
Yeah.
and service members alike and industry partners, to be honest, because previously personal property activity didn't have the authority, direction, or control over the program,
Right.
meaning you'd have a counseling office, you'd have a military claims office, a transportation office, and they all worked for different entities. They
Yes.
belonged to the military departments. So you're remedying a situation after a PCS is conducted that part of the PCS was facilitated by the Coast Guard. Part of it was facilitated by the Army or, another one of our military departments. And so when a family and that service member would submit a claim, there was a lot of back and forth. And
Yes.
so some of that would be remedied quickly and some wouldn't, but there wasn't someone that could really keep their finger on the pulse
Right.
and ensure that things were done in an efficient way. And so by becoming the personal property activity, that has helped streamline a lot of that. We've already had our shipping offices consolidated under the special activity that are CONUS. And in October, we will have our OCONUS shipping offices as well. And those are overseas continental United States. So I used an acronym. I'll try not to do that. But there were challenges just in the way that it was organized. that
Yes.
wouldn't allow for the program to function properly. And so that has changed. That's been one of the things that has changed that we've benefited from. It has allowed for us to be more responsive in our communication efforts. Previously, anything that we would post onto Military One Source would get staffed and approved by the different military departments, which is a cumbersome process when you're getting things sent out to get reviewed by a service. That
Right.
service has different prioritizations, obviously, that may
Yeah.
take precedent because nothing that gets to the corridors of the Pentagon are easy things to solve. And so
No.
there's a lot of conflicting things that are fighting for the attention of
Yes.
those services. So by standing up the special activity, we've been able to get away from that. And now personal property activity owns it. We stood up a website, which we're really excited about, ppa.mil. There's a ton of resources that are there. Those were previously housed on Military One Source. So now you have a one-stop shop because previously they were there, but they were segmented. You know, there were things
Yes.
specific to the Marine Corps, specific to the Navy, specific to the Coast Guard. And there's all these additional challenges depending on what service you were, whether or not this is verified information. There was outdated information that's available online on some of these websites. And so now we have one space where people can get everything that they need. And then there's also resources for our industry partners, those that do advocacy like Movers for America on our website. So it has everything that you need on this one space.
Yes.
And if you can't find something, you can reach out to me, you can reach out to anyone on our team, and then we'll make sure that it's made available on the website because we know that access to information is incredibly important. And so when we stood up the personal property activity, the commander gave us 4 lines of effort, and those were trust, quality, responsibility, and transformation. And those 4 things we've tried to infuse into everything that we spend our time on. He says you vote with your time, and he'll typically use that as a way of showing his appreciation when we're conducting an engagement. We want those entitlements and for the rate and frequency of the PCS to still be maintained by the service. But for the Defense Personal Property Program, now we have the authority to make those changes quickly. And so
Yes.
that's something that went into play for this last peak season that kicked off in May of 26. And families will benefit from that are inconvenienced. Hopefully they're not inconvenienced, but
Right.
if they are, now they are able to get
Yeah.
more in compensation from that moving company. But what it also does is it gives a mechanism to those moving companies. It's a form of accountability because they know if they're going to inconvenience a family, it's going to cost them more than it previously would have. And so
Right.
that gives greater accountability for industry partners as well to ensure that they're providing the best quality of support to our
Yeah.
warfighters.
Just so many things you just touched on. The centralization of everything has made such a huge difference. And I can say from the industry side, you're not having to go talk to 5 different people about one issue and then have those 5 people confer to figure it out. And the speed and responsiveness of PPA it's improved so much.
We're very fortunate to have incredible teammates in the civilian workforce with the personal property activity, with the temporary workforce. And now we're starting to get permanent workforce in for the
great.
personal property activity. And so now we're starting to see the enduring solution come alive. And having a ops center, a call center that's manned by people in uniform that a service member can call and have their problem remedied. Or, you can call the number, you can send an email. There's someone that's going to respond to that email or to that phone call discussion. We have nearly 300,000 shipments conducted annually across the department. And so when you have that much volume, there's bound to be some things that happen. We have some shipments currently that are impacted by Operation Epic Fury, and we've continued to maintain communications with those families for those that have been ordered to deploy or to evacuate from Bahrain. So some of those families have been impacted. We continue to advise them. And if you're moving, and this is good for industry and for the service member, if you receive orders, the moment you receive orders now, you can book your move. You
That's
can book your move nearly 2 months earlier than you've been able to previous PCS cycles. I mean, it's
That's
so
really helpful.
important.
From industry perspective, that's so helpful. The further out you can plan, the smoother it makes the whole process.
Right. You're trying to like think about how to optimize that truck, how to
Yes.
optimize the crates, how to optimize what team is servicing that particular move. If you're going to put it in storage while you're moving it from Fort Benning to Fort Campbell or to 29 Palms.
Yeah.
All of these different decisions for industry are important, but it's also important to the family. If you're
Right.
trying to set up childcare while the movers are at your home, having the ability to schedule that move in advance and get a sitter or to take them to one of our child development centers
Yeah.
so that you can focus on logging everything and taking
Yes.
accountability of your household goods. It's a stressful process every time you move. I've gone through it myself 14 times.
Yeah. Well, so
I'm a
that was
military brat.
Yeah, so that was actually going to be my next question. I know you must have experienced your fair share of PCS moves yourselves. You just said 14 yourself. How have your own experiences really helped guide you in saying, okay, how can I use my experiences to really help move this program in a positive direction?
Well, I mean, I've lived it. You know, I've had 14 moves as a military brat and now as a service member. I think that's one of the things. I mean, like I said, we have tons of professionals that are working against this problem set, but I think it's important on having a uniformed service member as the commander of the
Yes.
special activity. And
Right.
so one of the things that I get after this from a personal lens is I know the impact both someone who, you know, may have not had the bat or the glove show up and you're ready for T-ball as the kid, but also as the service member who just wants to get to work and to do my job, not have to focus on these things. I think we've made things a lot easier and we're working to continue to do that and just alleviate any of those stressors. And now, if you have an issue, you can call.
I feel like the overall attitude of the PPA is so positive that even if on the industry side, even if we're dealing with a tough problem, because everybody's coming from hey, let's work together, let's fix this, it has really just that mindset and attitude change.
Hopefully, I'd say that one of the great things as well, which we've done, I think we've done between 5 and 8 large scale industry engagements. We've had direct engagements with the American Truckers Association, the National Defense Transportation Association, and the International Association of Movers.
Yeah.
And those have also helped inform, you know, ways that we can work on our business rules to better meet the need of industry, what industry is facing. So part of that, we increased a fuel surcharge rate based off of some of what was being seen across the industry. And that's something that we pay attention to, but we weren't doing it at the same frequency. So we increased the frequency of that. And we want to be responsive to some of those challenges because we want quality and we acknowledge that we have to pay for the quality that we expect for the Department of War and its families. And so that's another great thing that we've been able to get after with some of the changes.
Yes.
Now, I did mention we haven't solved all of the friction points yet. There's been some wait times depending on the installation, but we know that we don't want to take away the security protocol from that installation
Exactly.
commander. So
Exactly.
each installation commander has to take an assessment of the threat condition level, and that's going to vary. So if you're at Cherry Point or if you're in Guam, you know, each depending on your actual installation, there's going to be a different threat condition level. And so we want that to reside with the installations commander.
Kind of along those lines, I think from what you've learned so far about industry and as you're, getting to know the movers, from your perspective, but what does a great industry partner look like to PPA, expectations for service members? Because that is something I know the moving industry always is trying to be. We want to be a good industry partner. So what does that look like to you, or what are some tips you would give industry on how to be a good industry partner with PPA on solving these types of issues or just collaborating for improvements in the future?